Hey folks, this is Ben Gussel. How's it going? Just making kind of a part two of Star Wars KOTOR 2 The Sith Lords kind of review. And there's a bit of ground to cover since my first review, and I'll try to get through it all. And again, I'm not really talking about the storyline so much, but if you guys want to play it, just be advised there might be some spoilers in here. But I don't think I dwell too much in the storyline in the first one, and I certainly won't do it this that same. I won't dwell in the storyline in this one either. I'm just talking about, and of course in the first one I added in some other kinds of additional questions I had about Star Wars in general. Um, but yeah, it's more just the nature of the game itself, the game mechanics, the well, whatever, all the non-story stuff. And so here we go. So when I left off, and you guys probably can't read my chicken scratch. At least I was writing kind of quickly, but these were the notes I was taking in the first video I made. A whole bunch of stuff. Whole bunch of stuff. Don't worry if you don't have to read it. I explained it all in the first video. And on this one, I know what I'm going to say. I don't need to go over anything. So that was a little bit more involved. So I gotta tell you, one of the biggest things about Star Wars KOTOR 2, and to a certain extent in KOTOR 1, um, you kind of had to have at least some degree of knowledge of how to use workbenches and stuff like that to upgrade your stuff. But you really didn't have to be all that good at using workbenches. And you didn't have to be all that good at knowing what your best equipment was, your very best equipment. As far as I remember, it was, I mean, you got good stuff. In KOTOR 1, you got your lightsaber. Other people had their blasters. It's pretty straightforward. In KOTOR 2, and again, it's been a while since I played KOTOR 1. I could play it again, of course. But in KOTOR 2, just to compare the two, it really is a bit more. Well, the way I played the game, it was. I mean, there was a point at which, okay, so I learned. I learned to, there were some soldiers that had the shields, and when they have the shields on, whatever you're doing is much less effective, or not even effective at all, to kill them or hurt them, the bad enemies, right, the bad soldiers. So that was earlier on, and then you get to a point in the game where none of the bad guys seem to be using shields very much, that you can tell. They don't have that blue or purple or red color to them, at least that I could tell. They're just tougher, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, whatever. But what I wanted to say was that, yeah, I mean, I really upgraded my stuff, man. And I don't know if what I've been using in this playthrough was like the very, very, very best stuff that I could have been using for everybody. And I don't know if like the skills and attributes I was because when everybody levels up, you get these different all these things that you can put points into, like different attributes and different skills and different powers and things. And I don't know if what I was investing in was exactly what would be the very best situation for every player, but I know I did a pretty darn good job because, and I did such a good job with the workbench and with the stuff I found in the game and with my characters. I did such a good job that, and I won't say his name, I've beaten the game essentially, other than one other thing I have to do, which I won't say what because I don't want to have too many spoilers here. But the very last antagonist, the very last antagonist in this game, Darth Blank, right? Again, I won't say who. I won't even say what it looks like. I want that to be up to you guys. But he was not all that hard. And I was playing on normal difficulty. I wasn't playing on easy difficulty. Now, to be totally fair and honest, there have been just one or two times when I had to switch shift to easy difficulty earlier on in the game. And I was kind of still getting the game mechanics down. I was still kind of getting, there was some really tough battles. I kid you not. There was some hard battles. Hard battles. But after, the second half of the game, nah, nothing. Nothing. It was nothing like the first half of the game. It was much easier because I knew how to upgrade my stuff on workbenches. I knew what the good stuff was. So one of the easiest ways to know how great something is it's a little bit complicated the way this game works. It's like there's certain you look at the weapon and you're trying to figure out the numbers behind it, the damage it can do. It isn't all that complicated, but it can be a little bit weird. It looks it looks slightly like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing, but it's not. It's not really Dungeons and Dragons lingo. It's not Fako. It's not dice rolling. It is kind of like a range of damage, like from such a number to like 5 to 30, or whatever it is. There's a range of damage it can do. Different weapons, and then there's like a combat multiplier. There's like critical things, so it isn't really that complicated to understand the damage that a weapon can do, and even some of the other stuff. Anything can do, armor, weapons. It isn't all that complicated, but what really helps is knowing how much merchants are willing to, how much gold you're willing to get, how much gold you can get for anything. The more expensive something is, the more like, whoa, this is something you want to hold on to. But here's the thing, and this is, I ended up having, close to 50,000 gold at the very end of the game, and honestly, like, you don't need that, and I had much less gold for a lot of the game. The first half of the game, up in a little bit after the first half, like there was a point at which my gold just shot up because I sold a bunch of stuff that I just wasn't using, I didn't need. And there's so much stuff in the game to get. There's so much stuff. I mean, like if you get, and I was getting everything, like most everything I could. There's very, very few things I probably didn't get. I was pretty thorough with regard to what I was able to get in terms of items. So the game has just so much stuff. So, and there's only so much stuff that you can have or can use. You have no more than a dozen or so. I think probably less than that. It's like the total number of people you can have in your party, but you can only have 2 other people aside from the main character in your party. So it's like you have, 4 or so other guys, 4 or so girls or women. And you have like 3 or 4 droids. So it's less than a dozen. Less than a dozen total potential party members. And they only have so much room for stuff. So there's just hundreds and hundreds of things you can get in the game. And a lot of these things are, again, really powerful or really expensive. You can get a lot of money for selling them. But it's just you'll find that you won't need them. Because you already have something else that's even better, or something else that character works with better. Some characters can't use things. Some characters can't use lightsabers. People that use lightsabers sometimes can't use certain other kinds of weapons. So you end up having a surplus of things. So you end up having all this gold, so you can use that gold, I think, to your advantage. You can buy whatever you want to. Like if you play the game right, you can end up having any part you want to, any upgradable item, or anything that you can have to enhance anything you want to. It's just like, And you probably will need to have. I mean, this is why you could probably play this game on hard difficulty or beyond that, and still beat the game because of all this. All the powers, all the skills, all the attributes, and all the items, all the weapons, all the armor that you can have. And if you upgrade everything the best you can, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's you can definitely play this game on harder difficulties and still come out on top. I don't know. Anyway, so for your game veteran guys are really good at playing video games, whatever. But aside from all that, so there's a bit of that going on in this game. And again, when it gets confusing, you want to go to a merchant and see how much the merchant's willing to pay you for something. And what worked for me was writing down a list of the things that were the things that seemed like they're the most valuable that I had at any point in time. And then I would carefully assign or carefully, think through all of my characters, who I had in the party or who I would have in the future. You can kind of say, oh, this thing works better with this, party member. Or I want to, this, whatever, these things. And then all this other stuff I can sell. And these are good things to jot down, pencil, paper, or put on your phone, or some kind of handy way, some way that you can get to it quickly when you're playing the game, and you can see it, and you don't have but it can take it is worth doing this because you don't want to sell something that like, oh, I could really use this down the road. But there's so many there's a fair amount of stuff that you can use. I personally, I've never found a need. I mean, of course, it's mentioned this in message boards. You don't need to. There's one time in the entire game where stealth comes in handy. So stealth is useless. Pretty much. And you still need camo, some kind of camo gear for that one spot. And it's a Nar Shaddaa, it's overhearing, whatever. So, but the thing is, and I can tell you guys what the most valuable attributes are, but it depends on the character. So computers, repair, security, treat injury. Treat injury is huge. Awareness is good. But, these are some of the better attributes to invest in. Stealth is probably the worst. Regarding all the other stuff, like there's another type of thing like your attributes. Like strength and stuff. So that absolutely is a different kind of character thing. I found that strength and dexterity are more combat oriented. Well, Constitution applies, of course, to everything. This is a very much a crossover with Baldur's Gate and a lot of other BioWare games. The way that kind of thing is set up with some changes, of course. But Obsidian. I can't remember who. Anyway, there's a similar group of programmers, somewhat, some kind of connection between KOTOR, the KOTOR games, and the Baldur's Gate, and Icewind Dale, and Neverwinter Nights games, and all that stuff. Anyway, but I found that my character had very high intelligence because I wanted him to be a computer repair guy. I also had him fairly high in strength. Well, medium high, and then, Constitution, dexterity, somewhat, but it was really intelligence. And then when I just had really high, really powerful gear at some point, and the gear, and also more especially the increased points that you're putting into treating injuries and all that sort of stuff, it all added up, and so I got to the point where my persuasion was just sky high, so I didn't need to have very high charisma. It was just. The game would work out very well without needing to persuade everybody to, So charisma, yeah, sure. If you want to have your way with everybody, sure. But, and then wisdom is connected with healing. But again, I had a wisdom of 10. And 10 is fairly low, or it's like middling low. Or it's like you don't get any extra points for having 10 wisdom. And, I got so high in my treat injury, my other Jedi skills. I was just like, I was I was able to heal like 70 points at a time, and it hardly went. My blue bar, the mana bar, like the spell bar, whatever, power Jedi power bar, that just didn't. It just like just very slightly down, and went right back up again. And it was like, so it was almost like you could have limitless healing as long as someone doesn't, cutting 200 points off of you, or like, in the hundreds, and that rarely happened. And so you just don't. Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't really need sky high wisdom. You could have it if you want to. Um, and so yeah, I mean, but dexterity is pretty nice to have. I mean, there's just a lot of combat stuff. Dexterity, strength, constitution, intelligence. Those are probably some of the ones that are a bit smarter to invest more points in, right at the beginning of the game, of course. But the thing is that you don't know what the other characters that are going to be coming across in your party, you don't know what their attributes are going to be. So, I will say this, I won't say who, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but you have other healers in the game. You have other people in the game that are good with blasters and rifles. You have other people in the game. You have droids that can, and you have people that are mechanically minded, and you have people, very smart people. You have people that are, they cover the gamut. I mean, of different skills, and so you can pretty much have your player however you want to have him, and it's not going to be an unbalanced party. You'll figure out kind of how you want your party to be and who has different strengths, but you probably do want at all times you want somebody who can heal with force powers. You can also have, of course, you have all the med packs and things, and advanced med packs and life support things. That's always important to have some of that stuff. But it's also important to have a good healer or two in the party, at least throughout most of the game. You want a good fighter, somebody who's on the front lines, and you probably want someone who's good at healing, someone who's good at fighting, and then you probably want somebody who's good at getting rid of the mines and all the computer stuff and all the mechanical stuff, repairs and stuff. So yeah, the tech, you want the techie guy, you want the healing person, and you want the fighter. And I mean, as a fourth option, this is kind of like a fighter / repair. There are people that are kind of like the scoundrel class. The scoundrel class is kind of, they're supposed to be the sneaky guys, the stealth, but again, the stealth is really non-existent in this game, the need for it. But the scoundrel class they're good at shooting, like the guns and rifles, right? And the pinpoint accuracy, the sniper stuff, right? So good with guns, and they're good at taking care of all the frag mines, or all the mine stuff, and also a lot of other mechanical things. So they're kind of an in-between a fighter and computer techie guy. So if you have someone like that, they can kind of take the place of a really super techie guy. But again, I'm trying to keep the names out of this unless you guys want more information about what everybody's like. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But okay, so a few of the things about the second half of the game. Let me just go through how much I like these different areas in general, from the beginning of the game to the end. Maybe I'll rank them on the scale 1 to 10, how much I just enjoyed it. Peragus 2, the mining facility, right? Peragus 2. Peragus 2 was basically on a scale of 1 to 10, probably only about a 6, really. I mean, it wasn't really all that enjoyable. Maybe 7 tops, was kind of a 6. And again, I just don't go for the super, I don't go for the really super techie mechanical areas that don't have a lot of greenery, don't have a lot of life and variety of color. There's some, but it was all kind of indoors, and it was all just kind of hallways, and it was just, but so it wasn't too bad. It was north of 5. So that's Peragus 2 mining facility. The next area, Telos, the Citadel station, because there's a few different areas of Telos, and I have to address them a little bit individually. Telos, and again, this is kind of spoilerish a little bit. Telos, the Citadel station, probably would I'd like that area slightly better than Progress, but not by a whole lot. So I'd probably only give it a 7 tops. And there were some things about Telos, the Citadel Station, that were kind of a little bit annoying. It wasn't too bad. It was a little bit more beautiful, but it was still indoors. And then when you get on the surface of Telos, there's a few different areas. It was probably closer to the 7 range overall. Still, again, when you get to the surface, even though there's more greenery, maybe 8, but it's still more in the 7 range. There was some really, really, really hard battles for that point I was at, for sure. One in particular, and then there was a whole underground, or there was kind of a underground area in Telos that you take care of, and that area was closer to again 6-7. It was fun in terms of some aspects of it, but it was just more indoors and getting techie a little bit. And then there was after that point, there's a brief cutscene with a really hard battle with droids, and again, I don't want to spoil too much for you. That's a little different. But you go into that's basically the area where you're about to meet with blank. I can't say who, and it's a little different. So that, I don't know, that whole area with the polar area of Telos, or whatever, North Pole area, I don't know, was weird. It was different. Weirdness wise, because it was a little different than the rest of the game, I'd actually give it a solid 8. It was fun. It was different. It was very different. This whole area of the polar area of Telos, I don't want to get into it, I can't tell you too much, but it was very different on so many levels from the other areas. So, but no better, no more fun than an 8. And then after the Telos polar area, it would probably go. I think I went to Nar Shaddaa next. No. So up to this point, the game has been kind of mediocre to pretty fun. So yeah, pretty good. Nar Shaddaa, and I mentioned this in the last video. Nar Shaddaa was just, oh my gosh, man. Just, oh my gosh. You had to. At first, it was not too bad. The whole area is urban. I mean, urban in the Star Wars aspect, and it was very slummy in a way. It's just, yeah, I mean, like, the kind of environment where you got your Star Wars type lowlifes, right? So the cantinas and the smugglers and you know what I'm talking about, the black market merchant guy. Yeah, nothing too. This is Star Wars. This is still this is not like, yeah, but it's not Vice City, but it's like, so this is Nar Shaddaa. Nar Shaddaa is kind of that, like that, and so, but that wasn't really the problem. It can see, the thing is that kind of environment can get depressing if you're in that kind of area for a while, which I'll get into. So it's because, again, just like I said, the first video about this stuff, it's just the way that this whole level is set up. You have to do all these things, these little side quests. I mean, you absolutely have to do this, all these tons of a fair amount of these different side quests before you can move the game forward. Before you get the cutscene where you are meeting with somebody, and then it's just, there's a lot of stuff you still need to do in Nar Shaddaa, and it just really is. It can be very frustrating. It can be very frustrating because you're just so sick and tired of this place. But overall, Nar Shaddaa was honestly in the 5 to 6 range. Actually, I'll flip it down to 4. It was actually in the 4 range at times for me. And when it gets into that range or below, that's when you want to quit the game. That's when you want to stop playing, because it's just not fun anymore, right? So I muscled my way through it, and I figured out how to get the game forward. And I had to kind of, be a dark side Jedi temporarily. Not dark side Jedi, but I mean, I had to gain dark side points. It was so stupid, And the whole dark side light side thing, it's kind of like, really, it's just, are you on one side or the other side? And as long as you're on one side of, as long as you're on one side or the other, as long as you kind of, it's overrated a little bit, but it's like, you kind of probably want to stay on one side or the other. That's the best way I could put it. And so all these little, it's just, it's easy. It's easy to kind of overthink that whole thing, and the game itself, the choices that the game presents you with, the dialogue options and things. It's not always clear. It really isn't always clear what dialogue options are going to result in a light side boost or a dark side boost, and so that's most of the time. Yeah, it's pretty clear, of course, but there are times when it's like I don't know. So just keep it in mind. There are a few points in the game that can be very confusing, and it's important not to sweat the small. It's important not to worry about that stuff too much because it really doesn't really matter that much. It really doesn't. But if you want to be a good guy, if you want to be a bad guy, just it's not too hard to stay in one area or the other. It really isn't. Anyway, so so yeah, but Nar Shaddaa, yeah, 4 to 6. Not it's definitely my least favorite area of the whole game. Definitely, it could have been. It could have been, and the whole reason why it's so low is mainly because of the way that the whole game, the whole level, the whole area was set up. The whole game, that you had to do so many side quests before you could trigger the cutscene that would let you go forward with the game. So, anyway, the other areas, Dantooine, I was so high powered at that point. I was so high powered that it was really easy for me. It was fun. I would give Dantooine a solid 8. That was fun. Maybe 7 to 8. Yeah. And then Dantooine's kind of like the grassland type area, a little bit of trees here and there. And then Korriban was one of the weird. I mean, at first it's a deserty Sith-ish area, but there's an area that gets kind of into the weird psychological area where I'm giving away too many spoilers, I know, but it's where the Jedi is kind of tested and things. It has all the weird questions and. So because of that, especially that second aspect of this whole game, and then there's like a academy area that can be a little weird. That's actually pretty fun. So I'd give Korriban a solid 7. That was actually pretty fun. But you can't enter the crypts like you could in the first game. The first KOTOR game, I remember going into these crypts or these 4 or so different things. Tunnels, but you can of course go into the academy, and there's another cave you can go into, and so there's places you can go into in Korriban. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff. What happens is kind of like one after the other. After Korriban, and this is getting kind of spoiler alert. Everything after Korriban. So after you visited all the planets, the gameplay, in my opinion, gets a lot more enjoyable. It's a lot more exciting and fun for the most part. So it gets up to like a 9, range. 8 to 9. It is more fun. The ending of the game, in my opinion, is more fun. It really is. But it's a bit more linear. It's definitely more linear, obviously. Right? Yeah. There's one little bug that I'm trying to work out. I won't say what it is exactly. Well, it's not a big deal. There's a solution to it, and I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. It just has to do with blowing up a ship after you kill the bad boy at the very end of the game. And after that point, I think you've beat the game. So I've technically beat the game. Even if I can't figure out how to do this, in my opinion, I still beat the game. Because this is like some kind of bug again. This game is a little bit buggy. It's a little bit buggy. And it's especially buggy again in Nar Shaddaa. And so if you can move the story forward in Nar Shaddaa, you're gonna be fine. But this area of Nar Shaddaa, no joke, it's gloomy. I mean, you have people that are penniless. They're wandering around this area, and you have these gangs on either side of them, and you have vast majority of people in this whole city are just scumbags, more or less. It's depressing if you're a sensitive person like me. I mean, like you're playing this game for hours and hours, it can get to you. But it's not a big thing, right? I've played, there are many games that are far more depressing than that area, But it's just a lot of grays. It's just kind of. So if you want really pretty unicorns, and I'm kind of exaggerating here, but if you want pretty colors and pretty beautiful landscapes and beautiful music, and Nar Shaddaa is not that. It is not that. It is It is CD women. So, oh, a few other things before I finish up this video. Um, I think I've covered the bases pretty well, actually. But it's just that there's a mechanical side to the game. Again, it can seem mechy, techy, mechy, techy, but not really. It's just that, yeah. I mean, I wish the game explained how to use workbenches better. Um, anyway, leave me thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.